Zane had never believed in rumors, but the one he heard about her seemed to stick. She's too big for love. People said it like it was a fact, and every time it crossed his ears, it left a bitter taste in his mouth. What did that even mean? Was there such a thing as being too big for love? He didn't think so. But then, in the crowded alien marketplace, Zane was about to face the truth of those rumors, and it was going to change everything. Zane's mission was simple: find the artifact, get in and out. There were no other distractions allowed. The market was filled with every kind of creature imaginable, each busy peddling their wares and looking for their next big score. It wasn't the kind of place for the faint of heart, but when he saw her, Kara, he felt like the air had been knocked out of him. She wasn't like anything he had ever seen before. She stood towering above everyone, the crowd parting in fear as she passed. Her size was impossible to ignore. She was larger than anyone he had ever known, a walking giantess in the midst of an otherwise ordinary world. But as he watched her, he couldn't shake the feeling that something about her was off. She wasn't just large. She was different, like she was meant to be seen but never touched, never loved. Zane's thoughts turned to the rumors he had overheard just before entering the market. They said she was too big for love, that she was some kind of monster who had long been rejected by anyone who dared approach her. They said she was a beast who didn't belong in a place like this, a being too monstrous for affection. The whispers and murmurs never stopped, but Zane didn't believe any of that. Compelled by something he couldn't explain, Zane stepped forward, weaving through the crowd, his feet carrying him toward her, despite every voice telling him to turn back. As he neared her, his heart started to race, his palms sweating. She didn't look like a monster. No, she looked lonely. She looked sad. She looked human. When she noticed him, their eyes locked, and in that moment, everything froze. Time seemed to slow as she stared down at him, her towering frame casting a shadow over him. He couldn't speak for a second. He was mesmerized by her presence, by the depth of her eyes, which seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 years of solitude. Zane was taller than most, but in her shadow, he felt like a child. Still, he didn't look away. "Hello," he said, his voice steady but filled with curiosity. "I'm Zane, and you are?" For a long moment, she didn't respond. Her eyes flickered with something. Uncertainty, caution, but then she spoke, her voice a low, rich melody that made his heart skip. "Kara," she said, her words barely a whisper. "Why do you approach me? Haven't you heard the stories? The rumors?" Zane tilted his head, confused. "I don't believe in rumors. I believe in people." Kara's lips trembled as she looked at him, clearly taken aback by his words. But then she held out her hand, large, trembling, but still beautiful in its own way. A simple, vulnerable gesture. Zane hesitated, but only for a moment. He reached out. When their fingers touched, something indescribable passed between them. It was a surge of warmth, of life, of something raw and unspoken. It was an undeniable connection. Despite the overwhelming size difference, they were connected in a way Zane had never experienced before. "I don't care what anyone says," Zane said, his voice growing firmer. "You're not too big for love, Kara. You're just different. But that doesn't make you less than anyone else." Kara blinked, clearly stunned. Her giant hand still rested in his, her heart beating faster than before. You really mean that?" "I do," Zane replied, his words solid. "You're not alone, Kara." I don't care what they say. You deserve more. For the first time in a long while, Kara felt something stir inside her. A hope, a faint flicker of something beautiful she thought she had lost forever. She had been rejected, cast aside, labeled as something monstrous because of her size. But here, standing in front of Zane, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Acceptance. But before they could continue, the sounds of footsteps broke their quiet moment. Zane tensed. A group of men appeared from the shadows. Bounty hunters. He could tell by the way they moved. Too calculated. Too dangerous. The leader of the group stepped forward, a cruel smile on his face. "She's the one, all right," he said, pointing at Kara. "Big, strong, and a nice little payday for whoever captures her. Time to come with us." Zane's heart pounded. "No," he shouted, stepping forward to block Kara from view. "You won't touch her." The bounty hunters laughed. "You think you can stop us, human? She's worth a fortune." Kara looked down at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. She had been through this before. People had come for her, used her, abused her. She had learned to push others away to protect herself. But Zane was different. He wasn't afraid. He stood there, ready to face danger for her. A strange warmth bubbling inside her chest. "Kara, run!" Zane shouted. But she didn't move. Instead, she took his hand and pulled him behind her. "I'm not leaving you," she said, her voice firm. "Not again." In one fluid motion, Kara moved toward the bounty hunters, her massive frame blocking their path. She didn't hesitate. Her strength was beyond anything Zane could have imagined. With a single swipe of her hand, she sent one of the bounty hunters flying. Another charged at her, but she grabbed him by the collar, lifting him into the air with ease. The remaining hunters hesitated. They had underestimated her, and now they were paying for it. Zane rushed to her side, helping to fight off the remaining attackers, using every ounce of his training. It was messy, chaotic, but together they fought back fiercely. When the last of the bounty hunters ran off, defeated and embarrassed, Zane stood next to Kara, panting. "Are you okay?" Kara looked down at him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I am now." For a moment, they simply stood there, their bodies still, the weight of the battle sinking in. But then Kara turned to Zane, her gaze softening. "Why? Why did you fight for me? Why do you care?" Zane smiled, his heart racing. "Because you deserve it. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not what people think you are." Kara's heart trembled, a wave of emotions crashing over her. For so long, she had lived with the belief that she was unworthy, too big to love, too different. But Zane, this human, had shown her something different, something real. They made their way to a secluded spot, far from the market chaos. Zane sat with her, listening to her story. How she had been experimented on. How her body had been altered in ways beyond her control. How she had become an outcast, rejected by everyone, forced to hide in the shadows. "I never thought I could have this," Kara said softly, her voice full of wonder. "I never thought anyone would look at me and not see my size, not see me as a monster." Zane reached for her hand again, his grip firm but gentle. "I see you, Kara. Not your size. You're more than that. And I'm here no matter what anyone else says." And in that moment, Kara knew she wasn't alone. She had found something she thought she would never have. Someone who saw her for who she truly was, who loved her despite everything. As the night drew on, the stars above them twinkling brightly in the sky, Zane and Kara stood together, no longer afraid. Together, they had faced the world's prejudice, and together, they would face whatever came next. The universe could say whatever it wanted. Kara wasn't too big for love. She was exactly the way she was meant to be. And with Zane by her side, she was finally home.